Hey everyone, welcome back to the Stubbornly Refused series where I've been going through all the exercises. Today we are going to do exercise 10, which is about self-honesty. I'll go through a lot of things I struggled with. I told a lot of lies, a lot of white lies, a lot of big lies based around fear of rejection, based around people not accepting me. It was something I've done for a long time. So when I tried to stop it, it felt impossible because it was a habit I had for a really long time. Before I go any further, please subscribe, hit that like button down below. Let me know what you think about the video series. I hope you are enjoying it. This is a very, very important part of OCD and anxiety recovery. Remember, you're breaking down your beliefs. You're not breaking down your thoughts. It's a big misconception that we see out there. If you need help, please reach out to Phil at OCDrecovery.com. We work all over the world, different time zones, everything like I said. And thank you again to Phil. I know I've been saying that a lot lately, but it's the truth. Phil does a lot of things behind the scenes, and it's really helpful for moving the mission forward, really, to spread correct information on OCD and anxiety recovery, not just OCD, since most of the information is very wishy-washy, doesn't quite understand or capture what it's like to suffer chronically 24/7 and everything in between. So this is an exercise in self-honesty. Dishonesty with yourself is usually the result of your self-doubting, perfectionism, etc. You feel ashamed to admit the truth, as when you fail miserably at something or see that others are laughing at you. That was a big one for me. The reason why I told a lot of white lies around my accolades, the amount of women I'd slept with, anything you could lie about, I've lied about, all because of my fears of rejection, self and or other rejection, and not wanting to feel vulnerable. I hated this sensation of vulnerability like most people do. So you lie to yourself and deny your errors and your foolishness. What you can do now is honestly admit when you recently felt upset, anxious, depressed, or enraged, for an example. So some of the examples he gave are, were you anxious about your children or other close relatives coming home later than expected? A lot of people have, there's a lot of jealousy fears out there. I work with a lot, it's not just men with women, last couple of phone calls I had, a lot of jealous men, people that didn't have OCD, dealing with their OCD partners. Were you panicked about a pain in your chest, thinking it might be a heart attack? Of course, health anxiety and health OCD. Were you depressed about the death of a relative or close friend? I definitely went through I buried it for a while. Then I got hit pretty hard with emotions when my father passed away because I didn't want to deal with it. And I just buried it underneath the rug, which is what most people do. Were you enraged about terrorism directly against innocent civilians? This is a big one all over the world right now. Different things happening all throughout history, always. Again, that's just one of the things that was listed on here. There are anxieties about real major or important events, and you probably were able to accept those reactions and deal with them. But how about some of your recent minor or unimportant events? I just made a post on my Instagram, Tied with Rob's, OCD Recovery Nick. Again, if you're looking for us, I always put inside, right there, you see the email, the YouTube channel, everything. So you can find where to contact us in that as well, because it's directly linked with Rob's. So I talked about how anger doesn't really do what most people do. There's a couple philosophy channels I love to listen to. It's not the first time I've heard this. Carl Jung talks about that anger can have great benefits. I don't agree with this at all. I think most, if not all, things that come from anger are not good. In most things that we're talking about on a day-to-day basis with anger, do not need to have anger. It's a loss of control in your emotions and needing to prove other people wrong, conditional self-life, other acceptance, specifically life and other acceptance. And the problem with anger is, what they say is, anger helps prove fairness. It doesn't. It does not. Calm resolutions, thoughtful outcomes, when they do happen, are usually better. The problem is humans are so fucking irrational that we have a hard time seeing, so we automatically default to anger is the best way forward. It's just not the truth. Even when there's an outcome in a particular situation, take World War II. Sure, outright anger against everything that happened during the Holocaust was completely understandable, but it also cost 1% of the world's population. 1% of the world's population, the last time I checked, died in World War II. Civilians, soldiers, every type of casualty you can imagine. How much money was spent on destruction in towns and homes and tanks and military equipment and everything, and just the outcome. So sure, anger was used in that, but it wasn't used, it had a horrible outcome. There was a positive outcome, but still 70+ million people died. So it's really important to look at that. So one of the things that I think a lot of people get upset about on a day-to-day basis is how they're feeling in the moment. So the fear of fear, okay? This is something that we really have no control over whatsoever, especially on a moment-to-moment basis. The only thing that's important about fear to fear on a day-to-day basis is, are you not doing any avoidance behaviors? Are you bringing it with you? Are you doing your daily tasks? Are you getting better at handling the flexibility of life when things get canceled? Are you not being so compulsive anymore? Are you all the things that you can do in the moment to not do a compulsion or not avoid? That is what matters. But we catastrophize. There's been numerous times where I felt absolutely incredible based my entire emotion, my recovery of emotions, which is a mistake. And then 10 minutes later, I felt the worst ever and I catastrophized. So that's really important to look at it like that. Okay? Look for minor incidents like these and acknowledge that you were really anxious, panicked, or ashamed about them, and that you were anxious about your anxiety. That's secondary themes, fear based around anxiety, depression, other sensations. Or ashamed about them. That you are really, can you be quite honest with yourself? Can you fully admit your original panic about this slight failing or screw up? And can you admit your secondary panic of letting people know your original anxiety? So force yourself to be honest. So this was a really big one. Again, it's very hard. One of the main things I really liked about David Goggins when he was explaining, it's really hard to tell people the truth. Another great thing I love that Jordan Peterson said, they were talking about, people being angry, and people always say, I can't believe that person got angry. I can't believe that person cheated on their wife. And Jordan Peterson said something along the lines of, I can. That's the wrong question. The right question is, how does someone remain calm? How does someone get screamed at in the road rage? And this is one for me, and they stay calm. How does someone stay faithful for 40 years? These are the more difficult questions. It's backwards what most people think. So these are some things that you can do to help. Laugh to yourself about your panic and your panic about your panic. See how ridiculous it is. Now, there are obviously caveats in here. It's not going to work fully with OCD, so I will talk about that. See how ridiculous it is that you absolutely need people's approval for almost everything you do. And that you need their approval for needing their approval now. See how funny it is. So yes, that is funny. You can use that. I use that with my body dysmorphia. I would look at other people who'd never been to the gym. I would say, look, this person is out of shape. They've never been to the gym. They're very, very overweight, but they're not anxious or depressed. Yes, that's good, but it's still not enough for most OCD and anxiety sufferers. Remember, we've had to take the principles and tweak them for where we see fit with OCD and anxiety recovery. So as a shame attack exercise, tell several people about your shameful feelings. Let them know with a trivial thing you upset yourself about. Show them how you made yourself upset about your upsetness. Be ruthlessly open and honest about this. So one of the things that a lot of men deal with that I work with is sexual performance in the bedroom. So this is a big thing, whether it has to do with anything with equipment, whether it has to do with not being able to perform, etc. There's been numerous times where this has happened to me with my wife and happened to me on other occasions as well. One I can think of in particular, a girl I really liked, I went out with, came home, I was in college, and I was so hammered I couldn't do anything. And you know, these are important things to talk about because a lot of people go through this stuff and they don't want to tell anyone, especially with the man perspective of that one. But don't get me wrong, there's many things that happen with women as well. Maybe they thought they looked really good in a dress and they went out to a dinner and then they saw a side picture of them and they saw the love handles sticking over the side in the dress and they were like, oh my God, I look so fat. And then they never want to tell anyone about that, so they throw the dress away. Don't do that, ladies. Don't throw that away. Same thing with men. Remember, I didn't wear underwear for 10 years. I was so petrified of feeling fat. That sensation of like discomfort that I didn't wear underwear for 10 years. Yep. So find your main must about your original feelings of panic. For example, I must remember this person's name. I must not have to ask them once again. I must not insult him. So a lot of things when it comes to this one, when I was thinking about today, is saying no to people. This is something that I really struggle with myself, but I never thought I did. So today at the gym, again, a lot of people know me being a chiropractor by trade. I had an individual ask me a question about something, someone I just know in my gym, and I said, yeah, I can get back to you and I see you again. I have to ask one of my friends who's a prescription provider, and they said, well, you could take my phone number and just message me whenever you find out. And I said, no, sorry, I don't take people's phone numbers. I keep that very private. And this person was quite taken aback because I've had conversations with them in the gym, but people are more friendly in their minds, and some people think that they're coming off. So I just said, no, it's okay. I don't do that. And he said, oh. It's like, yeah, I don't really know you and I'm not taking your phone number. So I already have enough people messaging me all day anyway. And you have to be able to say no. The late Charlie Munger, the CFO of Berkshire Hathaway, I think at least his title was CFO. I love listening to Charlie Munger. He just has great insights. And he said, you know, I'm a master at saying no. Now with OCD, you're like, am I saying no too much, blah, blah, blah. But you're going to have to get comfortable with saying no. A good example I use with this is a lot of women, because it's a little bit more common societally with women. So I have a woman It's been married for 5 years, in the relationship for 5 years. I said, when was the last time you turned your husband down or your partner down for romance? Okay. And the unfortunate side of the way YouTube is, I have to censor some of these words right now because they'll flag our videos, which is fucking ridiculous. But it's just the way it is right now. But it is ridiculous. And I hope you see this, YouTube. So, which you won't. So I can vent to the camera to myself. Okay, leave me alone. As Daisy snores right next to me, I have to talk over her voice. And they'll say, I've never turned my partner down. Not once. I say, turn them down twice a month. No, what if they leave me, etc.? You really have to try some of the stuff. These minor things that we've made super catastrophizing events in our mind, we're going to have to go towards them. Okay, find your must about your secondary anxiety. For example, I must not show my anxiety to others. I must not be anxious. I must get over my anxiety. This is one of the #1 things. I must get over my OCD now. I've been working on this for too long that keeps OCD and anxiety sufferers stuck. Rip up these musts and change them to preferences. Continue to observe and admit you often make yourself anxious or panic. Okay, even when you have a disorder, GAD, panic disorder, okay, body dysmorphic disorder, PTSD, OCD, CPTSD, all these new things that come up with. Yes, there are people that have been through tragic things, but we create, for the most part, 95 and above % of the time, we create our emotional disturbance. There's a belief, there's a behavior, there's venting, there's reassurance. No one triggers you. It doesn't mean you don't feel upset. You trigger yourself. This is the big problem in the world right now. Take personal responsibility. You trigger yourself. People are allowed to make jokes. People are allowed to say things you don't agree with. This is a very childish response to the world. There's many things that people do and say that I do not like and I don't agree with. But you know what I do? I zip it and throw that in the motherfucking ocean because it's not my problem and I can go around my life unless it was some super catastrophic tragedy of tyranny and injustice, which is not as common as most people believe. We make it out to be that in our life. This is super important. To make things even clearer, prevent your confusion, let me emphasize again that REBT, the belief systems in 1956, are thoughts, feeling, and action tendencies. You seem to have pure beliefs that are mixed in with feelings and actions. You think, feel, and behave, and your thoughts and your thinking influence your feelings and behaviors and vice versa. So it's very important to go through this, and so we're about 60% done with the exercises. Please reach out if you're struggling. Do not sit in silence. I sat in silence for way too long during relapses. I felt I should have known better. I didn't message Rob. I was afraid. I was ashamed. I liked coming across as a well-kept, strong man. This is just the reality. One of the #1 reasons I suffer with body dysmorphia is because I like to feel and look powerful. I liked being in shape. I liked having tighter shirts around my arms. I liked people knowing that guy's in shape. He's tough, but that doesn't mean anything to me anymore. I love exercise and I love training and I love looking good and like being in shape, but it no longer is attached to my personhood. My value is there's no difference between me drinking this coffee and then me going to the gym. They're just two separate actions. One of them is a little bit harder to break down unless you have fears around coffee, but I don't attach these things to my personhood anymore, and I try my best to look at myself as a shell of a human with personality and behavioral traits. Most can be morphed, most can be changed, and not going to be easy, etc. So thank you again. Please reach out. Phil at OCDrecovery.com. Thank you again for all the support and hope to hear from you soon. Have a good day, everyone.